Order. Stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have the minutes. Has everybody read them? Any additions, corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Weichel to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Colbert. Any more discussion on the minutes? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Now we go on to the approval of the agenda. Anything that should be added, questions, concerns? I know one thing that's on here is at the bottom, Bob Bauman had requested time on the agenda. I put it on the agenda, and if it's all right with you, we'll have it on, or anybody got any?
Is he here?
No, he's calling in. So, if not, that's the only other agenda item that was really, I guess, up for any kind of discussion, I guess, so. The rest of it's all pretty. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Everly to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Weichel. Any more discussion on the agenda? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. So we'll move on to old or unfinished business. I have a couple items, but I'll let anybody else go first. Okay, well, the first item is we did get minutes from the Historical Society from the last meeting. We requested minutes and bylaws, so I have them. I haven't looked over them. They're pretty brief, so Marlis, I'm assuming, has a copy as well, so if he wants them, you can just request a copy, or if anybody else wants them, they're here. The other thing on old or unfinished business is I did talk to Luke Mossett again on those cattle guards that are on, I think it was 3rd Avenue and, 87th Street back there we had talked about. So Luke had mentioned since that the main rails of the cattle guard were made out of rail track, like railroad track. He said that's all salvageable, and what he would do is just, if someone wanted to, like if we would pull them out with the excavator and then we could clean them spots out, put them right on a trailer, he would take them to his shop, put new pipe on them, and then he thought he could bring them back and put them on with a skid loader. He thought he could do it. He figured probably about $1,500 to $2,000 a piece to just put all new pipe on top, but reuse the rails. So that was just, I mean, we could probably do it ourselves too. I just thought about, the time sakes and all that, and if it'd be that much cheaper if we did it. So I just asked him on that. He thought he could probably do it this fall yet before winter if the weather holds, but if not, probably do it right away in the spring. I thought it'd give us a good opportunity to clean them out properly too, and then if they were repiped, then hopefully don't have to touch them for a handful of years, they're gonna clean them out, so. I don't know if we have to make a decision absolutely today, but the longer we wait, then the likelihood he wouldn't be able to do it unless we're gonna do it ourselves, would be the only other thing, so. I thought maybe we could wait till this afternoon and talk to Skylar and just see if that's something they wanna maybe tackle, cause the other thing, you'll have to close the road for probably however long it takes, cause you won't have cattle guards in them, so you're gonna have to. Which I don't think will be a huge inconvenience, cause it's more of a road that's getting used by just probably a handful of people, but it would have to be closed for a couple days a week, I don't know, so. Something to think about, we'd probably bring up again this afternoon, but I thought it is where it's at, so. Those are the only two things I had to bring up with old business, so. Well, not hearing any of that, I guess we'll move on to our 9:15 item, which is Francis Crum. The floor is yours, sir.
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for putting me on the agenda today. I'd like to supply a copy of this to each Commissioner, and one to Marcy and one to Joe. What I'll do here, Commissioner Magrum, it'll take me about 15 minutes to run through with a little bit of history where we're at now, and then I'll turn the floor back over to you.
That's fine. We've got the agenda time, so it's all yours.
The purpose of me attending this meeting is to request Emmons County Commissioners to clarify their position on North Dakota Century Codes 240703 and 240628 regarding right-of-ways. In 2019, at Commissioner Wyko and Everly's request, I had 90th Street section line right-of-way surveyed and provided the survey to Emmons County Commissioners. Because of the findings of the survey, the Commissioners instructed State's Attorney Hansen to notify owners that their fences were encroaching on section line right-of-ways. On March the 2nd, 21, State's Attorney Hansen sent owners a written notice that they were unlawfully encroaching on 90th Street section line right-of-way. RE, unlawful encroachment on a section line violation of North Dakota Century Code 240628. This notice is provided to inform you that the above mentioned fence is in violation of North Dakota Century Code as described above. You are hereby ordered to remove any such obstruction on or before May 1, 21. Because of Whirlander's refusal to remove the fence, the same encroachment notice was sent to them again on September the 3rd, 21, again approved by all 5 commissioners. According to the June 7, 2022 meeting minutes, the commission agreed that the landowner should be allowed until October 1 of 22 to remove his fence. If the fence is not removed by October 1, the county will hire a contractor to remove the fence. The landowner will be liable to the county for all costs involved. According to the July 5th meeting minutes, Steve Whirlander asked the commission to grant a variance because it's impossible to move the fence to 33 feet without running into the creek. After discussion, the commissioner agreed that the Whirlanders move the fence off of the right-of-way for 1,150 feet, and the county granted a variance for the remainder feet of the fence where the section line curves. Joe Hansen will draft a variance for the August 2nd, 22 meeting. No reasons were provided why the commissioners backtracked, decided they were not going to enforce State's Attorney Hansen's notice to Whirlanders regarding their unlawful encroaching on 90th Street right-of-way. According to North Dakota Century Code 240703 and 240628, but instead would grant them variance. No reasons were provided for the variance to narrow up and or close parts of the right-of-way to the public and the adjacent landowners, other than a neighbor's fence might also be on the right-of-way. No meeting was provided as required by century codes to the public and adjacent landowners who also use the right-of-way. The North Dakota century codes regarding right-of-ways clearly did not change from June 7th to July 5th, when the commissioners granted Whirlanders this variance. If the century codes didn't change, it was unlawful to encroach in the right-of-way prior to July 5th, as Emmons County Commissioners and State's Attorney Hansen informed Whirlanders in their written notice. And the only thing that changed was a discrimination against the public and the adjacent landowners who use this right-of-way. Whirlanders erected their fence after the July 5th meeting, before State's Attorney Hansen could draft the variance, so there was no written variance, as required by North Dakota Century Code 240628. I attended the August 2nd meeting because Whirlanders did not follow the details of the verbal variance agreement granted on July 5th and fenced across the entire right-of-way. According to the August 2nd meeting minutes, according to the State's Attorney Joe Hansen, the variance has not been drafted nor signed by the commissioners. Further discussion was held later in the meeting where the commissioners agreed to hire Wolf Engineering to perform a survey of the right-of-way. The survey was conducted and showed that the Whirlander fence is on the right-of-way for the entire half a mile. I attended the September 6th meeting where there was a lengthy discussion of Whirlanders not complying with the verbal variance. State's Attorney Hansen had reservations that the agreement made with Whirlanders was not followed, and neither was North Dakota Century Code by the majority of commissioners. Commissioner Everly argued that the fence should not be allowed on the right-of-way. At 30 minutes into the September 6th meeting, Commissioner Weichel said, well, I'm going to tell you this, that as a Board of County Commissioners, we have at our option discretion, and that we can use discretion, and that means that I would assume that every case is looked at individually under that discretionary rule. I'm just saying that everyone is going to be different and you're going to use discretion. I mean, Francis has a good point with the century codes and that, but we're not a court of law here. We're county commissioners. Commissioner Weichel, you're not elected to be a court of law. You just have to enforce the laws provided to you by the state. So my question is, if the commissioners ignore North Dakota century codes, which ensure equal and fair protection to the public and the adjacent landowners, aren't you making yourself a court of law rather than an elected official who is sworn to under the oath to uphold the state and county laws? At 41 minutes into the meeting, Chairman Magrum said, even as a commission together, we are bound to the century codes. I will admit it and would be willing to bet my fellow commissioners would too, that they were probably not familiar with that specific century code when we went forward with the variance. At 43 minutes, Commissioner Weichel replied, I'm going to disagree with you guys, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say that we have discretionary power to give these leeways and we do it when we feel fit. We did it in the past. We did it a couple of months ago. I just think that the effort was made. He did a good job moving the fence. We gained a lot of ground. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make a motion. We grant the variance to Steve and Frank Ruller. I then asked Commissioner Weichel, have you read the century codes? He replied, I've read some of them. I haven't read all those that you have. I also asked Commissioner Weichel, so should you be making that opinion before you read the century codes, before you even listen to your state's attorney? Commissioner Weichel replied, I know that we have that discretion at our power to make these choices depending on the situations at hand. Everything that Commissioner Weichel said was not based on North Dakota century codes or the advice of the state's attorney, but rather his own personal feelings, emotions, and discriminations of the public and the adjacent landowners that use that right of way. At 46 minutes, Commissioner Holm stated the problem I got is that we approved it in July where he was supposed to put the fence. There should have been more homework or something done at that time. And I'm not disagreeing with Francis, the law is the law, but at the same token, we approved him to put it where he put it. Commissioner Holm, the taxpayers provide the commissioners with their own state's attorney at every monthly meeting. So all you would have to do is ask him what North Dakota century code says and follow his advice. There's absolutely no excuse for all 5 commissioners not knowing or following the law. State's Attorney Hansen, along with Commissioner Magrum and Everly, clearly recognize that North Dakota century codes must be followed regarding county right-of-ways. Commissioner Weichel argued that the commissioners have authority over North Dakota century codes with discretionary law, and this opinion was also favored by Commissioner Holloman Colbert. These 3 commissioners, by a 3-2 majority over Commissioner Magrum and Everly, also against the advice of State's Attorney Hansen, voted to approve the variance for the Rollander Farms as constructed. Normally, variances are used where there is a county zoning laws and setbacks. Now the question becomes, is it even legal to grant a local county variance to narrow up or close a right-of-way for a full half a mile without providing a valid reason to the public and the adjacent landowners, since it falls under North Dakota century codes? On a download from Crowley Fleck attorneys at Williston, North Dakota, regarding county zoning and local land use regulations by Trevor A. Hunter, a variance is defined as a one-time exception to an express provision of a zoning ordinance. So the question is, are ROWs zoned? I know they're zoned by the feds in the state to be 66 feet. Licensed to violate the provisions of a zoning ordinance as it appears to particular property. Well, right-of-ways are all over. They're not particular, they just exist. They're granted for, they're supposed to be disfavored or rarely used, and they're granted for setbacks, lot sizes, etc. And I'm assuming that's municipalities or private properties. Local governing body has total discretion on them. Well, counties don't have discretions on right-of-ways, the state and the feds do. Counties can come in and they can permit a fence to cross a right-of-way or something like that, but you don't have total discretion on a right-of-way. That is a North Dakota Century Code. Another rule, a variance is proper only where the property is somehow different from other property, particularly adjacent property. The requirements of a variance are no adverse effects on the public, no adverse effects on neighbors, and the property has characteristics making it eligible for a variance. Also included in this here is called the general grant of authority. A local governing body cannot validly enact a zoning ordinance that contravenes federal or state law. So in this case, the county, by granting a variance, it's actually contravening federal or state law on the North Dakota Century Control, or North Dakota Century Codes, because they control ROWs. Therefore, doctrine of preemption applies. Rule, that which is allowed by the general laws of the state cannot be prohibited by a local ordinance without an express grant on the part of the state. Local municipal ordinances are inferior in status and subordinate to the laws of the state. Local laws can touch on areas addressed by state law, and courts have a duty to try to reconcile each and give effect to both to the extent possible. Next on, we're going to go to, in a letter opinion, 2010-L-01 on February the 5th, 2010, from North Dakota Attorney General Wayne Stenjum to Mr. Wade Engia, Montreal County State's Attorney, regarding a zoning ordinance. One of the things that he writes on page 3 and 4, counties are creatures of the Constitution and may speak and act only in a manner and on the matters prescribed by the legislature in statutes enacted pursuant to constitutional authority. The North Dakota Supreme Court has specifically stated that although counties have general authority to enact zoning ordinances, a local governing body cannot validly enact a zoning ordinance that contravene federal or state laws. In a related context, this office stated, municipal authorities under the general grant of power cannot adopt ordinances which infringe the spirit of state law or repugnant to the general policy of the state. The preemption doctrine is based upon the proposition that a political subdivision, as an agent of the state, cannot act contrary to the state. Each commissioner signs an oath of office which states, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of North Dakota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Emmons County Commissioner according to the best of my ability, so help me God, under pains of penalty and perjury. So by Commissioner Weichel, Holm, and Culver voting to grant a variance, they are overriding North Dakota Century Code 240628, 240703. Are they violating their oath of office to uphold the Constitution of North Dakota? The situation is that Commissioners Magrum and Everly, State's Attorney Hansen, and myself are in agreement that North Dakota Century Code should be followed. The problem is that Commissioner Weichel, Holm, and Culver tell us that they recognize century codes, but they feel they have authority over century codes by using what they call discretionary law. The real problem is the interpretation of the law by these three commissioners. At this point, these three commissioners have become activists who feel they are not bound to North Dakota century codes. If all the commissioners who have served over the past 100 years would have used so-called discretionary law based on their personal feelings, emotions, attitudes, likes, dislikes, and their discriminations against the public or adjacent landowners of Emmons County, as Commissioner Weichel, Holm, and Culver did on 90th, there probably wouldn't be a section line right-of-way left in Emmons County for the public or adjacent landowners to use. In closing, our county commissioners have taken an oath and have an obligation under the Constitution to uphold North Dakota 240703 and 240628. In this case, it appears that county commissioners cannot override century codes with a local county variance. I turn the floor back over to you, Commissioner Magrum. Thank you for your time.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Francis. I guess I talked to Joe about it, and the one thing that I thought we should probably do just to settle this, I guess, once and for all, would be to submit this for an Attorney General's opinion. Since it's not quite a zoning ordinance, I mean, it's more of a special circumstance, I guess I'm curious to find out if commissioners can actually do this, I mean. Cause I know you said before that Wayne Stenjum has an Attorney General's opinion, so if it's a pretty thorough opinion, it probably won't take long to get one, and if this is a special circumstance, then we'll generate an opinion from it that other counties can use, so.
I will actually share both of those opinions, the ones I provided today and the ones we talked about last time to Joe. And that one's more on right-of-ways. This one here is on using county zoning on a right-of-way. And there is no doubt commissioners have a lot of power. They have discretions because there are times that right-of-ways, for example here, you may have Beaver Creek butting up to it, you may allow that. But to actually narrow up an entire half a mile for not a solid reason, when the federal government and the state government say they have to be 66 feet wide where possible, that's where I see the issue. County commissioners can allow cross fencing on right-of-ways. I don't even believe a gate has to be put in. It's not real clear. But if you think about it as a commissioner, if I asked you the questions, would you 5 commissioners have authority today to close every right-of-way in Emmons County, every section line right-of-way? The answer would be no. If you don't have the authority to do them all, why do you have the authority to do one of them? I understand there's points, cross fences, a creek coming out, you might let a man bring a fence around, you might put a trap gate in, but ask yourself, you're under the state government, and that's why the feds and the states provide century codes, so that when people get on these here, we have to follow things as a whole.
Well, that's why I tried to say right away, you know, Frank and Steve, I have nothing against you guys, but why didn't you just put it where it was supposed to be, then there would be none of this problem, you know? But
Well,
now I see it as a big problem, because either we're gonna get sued by Francis, and the county's gonna pay for that, and then it's gonna come down to, he's gonna have to move the fence again anyway. Then Frank's gonna sue us, because you know what, we told him he could put it there now. So what are we gonna do then? I don't think that taxpayers should pay for that. Us county commissioners making a dumb mistake like that, we should pay for it. You know what I mean? That's just, I mean, I don't know why we're going through this every month. We have a state's attorney that, I mean, if we have questions, we can ask him. We should have just did it right away, and then it would have been done. I mean, I know a person wants to, you know, be pleasing to people, but sometimes we just have to do what the law says and do it, you know?
The other problem I have with the commissioners is, these are century codes. The entire county is run on century codes. From anything from variances to the auditor's office, everything is run on century codes. So if you don't follow this century codes, what other century codes do you have the power to not follow or to override? I understand the whole discretion things, because century codes don't print out absolutely every situation that comes up. That's where common sense discretion comes in. But century codes cover everything. You have to follow them when they prevail.
Well, I just think rather than debate this over and over from one side to another and trying to figure out what the law is, we go to the top law person in the state. I mean, he's an elected official, the Attorney General. We have a different Attorney General. I still think we should just submit for his opinion. I think that would be the easiest way to do it, go about it. And I mean, he's either gonna tell us that we did something wrong, or we have the power to do it, and you move forward from there instead of just debating this over and over and over, so.
I have no issue with that.
Well, I think that's what you should do, Joe. I think you should submit a
What-
request for an Attorney General's opinion.
What's Joe's advice? Do you have any legal advice?
Well, I think this letter that we got from Francis here, he's requesting that the county commissioners clarify their position on 2 North Dakota century codes. I don't think it's reasonable that clarify the opinion based on the request I received 15 minutes ago. That would be first and foremost. I mean, 240703 does state that the Board of County Commissioners may close section lines or portions of section lines. Then the question becomes, did you do it properly or not? And given the situation, did you have the authority to do it or not? And so if the chairman would like an opinion from the Attorney General, then I think that's perfectly reasonable. We can pursue one. I also think it's reasonable to come back with an answer to Francis's request, but we probably wouldn't have that today. And then also, it's difficult for the commission to provide a unified position when they go to 3-2. So you're not necessarily going to have a unified position. It'd be difficult for us to, because I can tell you right now, there's going to be 2 commissioners that think one way and 3 commissioners that think the other way. And it was evident last month when they voted on it. So.
And I don't need clarification today, but you have to realize this is what, the 6th time we've covered this. This is never done in Emmons County before. Usually if somebody's on a right of way, they move the encroachment off. I don't know why this one has gotten to this point, but, and as for your point of closing a right of way, Attorney Hanson, you are correct. The proper procedure is this here. One of the landowners has to petition the commissioners, and then you provide a public meeting for that. You can't just close it, you have to provide a public meeting, and when you get no rejection to that, then commissioners can actually turn the property back over to the landowners. But it has to be, like Joe had said, you gotta follow proper procedure to do that.
Well, I think all that would get highlighted in the Attorney General's opinion, so that's why I just, instead of just regurgitating this over and over, I think we should just move forward with the opinion, and then we can base our decision off the opinion. If it's unconstitutional to grant a variance, then we're gonna know it, and it'd be hard to honor it, and if he says it's within our purview and we voted on it, then I suppose we'd have to honor it, and let's just move it at that. I think that would, if you want a clarification of that, I'd say the clarification is whatever the Attorney General's probably gonna say on it, because we're not a court of law, and we're sitting here arguing back and forth over who has the authority, and there's someone who has the authority to tell us we have that authority or not, so let's just move forward with that.
I would agree with that, it needs to come from the state.
Well, I think it would be helpful for all sides to just have an opinion like that, and if, like you said, if the previous Attorney General's opinion is thorough enough, then he's probably gonna use that most likely, and if it's not thorough enough, he's gonna generate his own opinion, and from there, we can make a decision, so.
Okay.
All right, so, Joe, you're gonna submit that request, or do what needs to be done to get an Attorney General's opinion on this?
Right, we'll probably have to talk a little bit further, because we'll have to narrow down the focus of the question.
Right, that's fine, but I mean, I think going forward, that's what we're gonna do, is try and seek an opinion from the Attorney General on however we wanna specify it, I guess, would be the question. Okay. So then we'll go on to the 945 issue, which is Francis on the variance of 90th.
And I will forfeit that, Commissioner, until we
Okay.
hear back from the Attorney General.
Okay,
So I'll just share my information with Joe, and I'll do that, so you can get going with your meeting. I'll just email that to Joe. So, thank you, Commissioners.
thank you, Francis.
Thank you.
Okay, well, the other issues are all gonna be time related, I guess, or time sensitive, so we could probably, okay, well, at 2:35 to 2:45 was to review and discuss a letter from David Crum on Marlis. There's nobody showing up for that or anything, it was just,
I don't believe so.
okay. Well, I have a letter here from David Crum. It's in regards to the instance we had at our special meeting, and he has requested that we read this out loud, so. Esteemed Emmons County Commissioners, this correspondence regards a special meeting on September 27th, 2022. During the meeting, when discussing the operating cost for use of the grader, some commissioners expressed the opinion that it should be twice the normal cost of $200 per hour, equaling $400 per hour plus $100 for fuel, just to make sure that everything was, I don't even know what that word is. Copacetic? Somebody's using a thesaurus. Anyway, after ruminating about this matter for several days, I've decided to acquiesce to those commissioners on this issue, even though the actual use time was 1.8 hours as verified by the photos that were present. Included in this correspondence is a check for $400 in addition to the $500 that was paid on 9/27/22. Also, to appease and satisfy all those involved and concerned, I am freely donating the 3 months, January, February, and March of 2021, the use of my personal shop welder, which I brought from home for the use of the Emmons County Road Department. Thank you for your attention in this matter and best wishes to a bright future. Sincerest regards, David Crum. And he did include a check for an additional $400 on that, so.
Well, I don't think we should accept that, really. I mean, he did his, we gave him his penalty, whatever he had to do. I don't think we should accept that.
I have no problem with not accepting it either, since it's not really a part of what we discussed, even though I agree with it, but you're right, I mean, we did settle the matter, but anybody else have an opinion on it? Question on the letter? Okay. Well, we'll consider the matter closed. Thank you for the letter. So that is off the agenda. We still have about a half hour. So if we want to either go through plats and building permits, or we could have someone else come up with. Sheriff Sanders, would you want to take the half
Yeah, I
hour?
sure can. I'm scheduled for this afternoon, but it'll be brief anyway. I had submitted a contract for your guys' review with YouthWorks in Bismarck. So what YouthWorks is, let me get some information out here. YouthWorks is a facility in Bismarck for juvenile detention. Basically, it's not YCC Youth Correctional Center, but it's for attentive care of runaways, unruly minors that we deal with, where there's not a family member for them to go to. They don't meet the criteria for incarceration at the Youth Correctional Center. They provide services there. Also, lately, we've been dealing with some juvenile issues in the county where we've had to utilize YouthWorks, more specifically just last month. And we expect to probably utilize them additionally this year. That cost, we do not have a contract with YouthWorks, so that cost is just shy of $400 per day. It's expensive, $396. If we have a contract in place with YouthWorks, there's a one-time fee, and regardless of how many days we utilize that facility, so it doesn't take long to use up a $1,000 contract at almost $400 a day. We've utilized them 3 times last month. So it doesn't take
$1,000
long.
contract, how long does that last?
That's on a yearly deal. So the contract that's in front of you guys is for the remainder of this year, and then all of the calendar year next year, 2023. The other thing with the contract assures us is that they will accept that juvenile. Without a contract, they do not have to accept that juvenile. So another benefit to that. I'm not looking for any additional funding. We've already got the funding in our budget through our jail bill. So it's just a matter of having the contract signed and have that forwarded to YouthWorks.
Commissioner, I did mail the contract out with your packet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Any questions on what YouthWorks is, or?
Is that a new program?
No, that's been around for many, many years in Bismarck. Yeah.
So I was gonna say, we renew this contract basically every year, don't we?
No, this is something they just started
Oh,
here
this contract,
recently.
but we always did like an agreement, it's like I mean, with you.
We've got a contract with Youth Correctional Center
Okay.
in Mandan, but in order to detain a juvenile, there's certain criteria. They have to score high enough. It has to be a crime of violence, physical violence or something like that. And usually for an unruly juvenile, that is someone that has run away, won't listen to the parents, might be a curfew issue. The idea is to always place that juvenile with another family member, aunt, uncle, grandmother, grandfather. But in those cases where there isn't that option anymore, that's where YouthWorks comes in.
So are we running into more of that?
We're seeing, lately we have, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So last month we utilized them 3 days, or basically 3 weekends. So,
So who
Who gets the medical issue if there is one? Who's responsible for that? Should there
The
be?
parents are, basically. We had a medical issue with one juvenile, had to be taken to the hospital in Bismarck. That becomes the responsibility of the parents, obviously.
Okay.
Any other questions on youth works or the contract?
So the numbers in the back for this is like just an agreed upon amount?
Yep, exactly. They took a look at their operating costs and they try and split that up between the jurisdictions that utilize their facility between Bismarck PD, Burley County Sheriff's Office, Mandan, Morton County, Sheridan County, McLean County, Emmons County, Logan County. I'm not sure if McIntosh is in there or not, but
Macintosh.
yeah.
Well, there's a signature for, no, McLean is probably the one you're thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah, basically the signatures or the signature lines that you have on that back page are basically the agencies that utilize their facility.
So if we sign this contract, then that's gonna be just our agreed upon amount, whether we go
Yep.
over or under, it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I'm not looking for any additional funding. We've got the funding in our jail budget. It'd be paid out of what we normally pay for housing prisoners.
Well, that's cheap enough, really.
Well, like I said, at almost $400 a day, it doesn't take long to eat up $1,000 contract. So even if we utilize it 10 days in a given year, it's still $1,000.
And it looks like a bulk of the cost is going to like Burley County, City of Bismarck, and so, I mean, it looks like they proportioned it based on use, so
Yeah,
we're at $2,700 for a total between the remainder of this year and then next year. And everybody else is in the tens of thousands, so I mean, it seems like a reasonable enough. I mean, they split it up fairly.
So we need a motion for that, or yes?
no, I don't believe you need a motion. It just, I mean, you can if you want, but it just requires the signature of the commission chairman, basically, then I'll send that back. They'll send me back a signed copy too for the contract.
Well, I guess for minutes sake and all that, I guess why don't we entertain a motion if we're all in agreement, let's just do it, so that way, if we want to sign it, we'll all agree on it, so.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Everly to sign the grant agreement for the Youth Works program presented by Sheriff Sanders. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Weichel. Any more discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Do you have like an official copy for me to sign later or something, or okay, I'll just,
We'll submit an invoice later today for that payment then.
Sure.
Get that done.
You'd have to renew this every year then.
Yeah, there'll be another one sent out after January sometime, for the next calendar year. Correct.
are you talking about the Center Inc.
Nope, that's a
community
different,
service? Okay,
yeah, that's different.
all right.
Center Inc. is something that we've done continuous for the last.
I think that's what I was thinking of earlier
Okay,
when I
that could
mentioned
be.
that. That's what we do every year, and that's for
Yeah.
community service and stuff.
Community, yeah, there's two services that Center Inc. provides, and that is community service, but probably what we use more is their probationary service. Those individuals that are convicted or pled guilty to a misdemeanor offense, and then sentenced to supervised probation, they handle that probation period for those of a misdemeanor, because DOCR, Department of Corrections, if they will not take normally somebody that is convicted of a misdemeanor, unless it's somebody of a felony type conviction. So a lot of times where we use Center Inc. is those individuals what we call our problem children, people that we have repetitive contact with for misdemeanor drug offenses, thefts, things like that. They're good candidates for supervised probation. So that's where we utilize Center Inc.
Anything else to continue on?
The only thing else I have on the agenda was, I am, as you may know, losing the deputy here in November. Deputy John Bartlett submitted his resignation. His last day with Emmons County will be November 18th. I'm looking to start advertising to fill that position probably next week, and I'm hopeful to have it filled by the first of the year.
Any prospects?
No, none. I said, we'll go through the, application process. We'll see what we get for applicants. It's a crapshoot as far as what you're gonna get for applications. You just don't know. If you end up with 15, 20 applicants and whittle it down to maybe 2 or 3 good applicants, hopefully, you just don't know. So we'll see what we get for applicants as we go forward. try and do the interview process probably sometime late November, first part of December, and try and fill the position by the first of the year. That position or post will be here in Linton.
So you usually get quite a few applicants for that?
Pardon me?
Usually get quite a few applicants for that?
You know, again, that varies on the market, basically, it really does. You know, who's graduating from Devil's Lake, all that stuff. Our preference, my preference is to hire somebody that is licensed or licensable, that does not have to go to the academy, obviously. You know, over the years, we've had hiring process where we've gotten 10 applicants. We've also gone through the hiring process and gotten 30 applicants. So you just don't really know what you're gonna end up with. Okay, anything else for me?
No,
Okay, thank you, sir.
thank you. What we got
Chairman
about-
Baker, the
Yep.
Century, contract also is here. It's on the agenda after here.
Okay.
I just want to do that right away.
Yeah, we can do that right away. Do you want me to come?
Well, I'll just put it here, you can sign it, you sign anything else, but you want to review it.
Is it Center or Century?
Century.
Is it
Century.
Century?
Century.
TRE at the end. But this is that Century Inc. Contract, which we sign pretty much every year. As Sheriff Sanders just explained it, so guess I'll entertain a motion to approve the signature on it, just for minutes sake, I guess, so.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Holm for the chairman to sign the Century Inc. Service contract for 2023. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Everly. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Do you want me to just sign this one, Marlis?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it. You got any of the plats? So we got about 15 minutes here. Sharon, are you here for your plat, or are you just here from attendance?
I'm here if you have questions.
Okay, but you're, okay.
I'm just here for attendance.
Okay.
If you have questions,
Sounds good.
happy to answer any.
Okay, so the first thing on the list here would be the plat for Sharon Schurmeister. I don't have anything in front of me, so. Nope. Was it just like a survey plat and land transfer or something kind of deal?
They're just splitting a larger tract, there's no issue that I see.
Okay. Okay, well, so plat seems to be in order. Josh doesn't see any problems with it. It's 21 acres, so it doesn't really have any kind of acreage limitation or anything like that, so I'll entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny.
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
Motion by Commissioner Culver to approve the plat for Sharon Schurmeister. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Weichel. Any more discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Plat approved. Next is a plat for Larry and Wanda Heather. Huther? Never tough one today. Really getting me on the words today.
So our screen, you're stopped working, so I can look at the projector. This one, they're splitting, I don't have it in front of me, but, they're making it less than 1 acre. I think. I'll hold that. What is it? Yeah, cause this was one large lot right here, and we're splitting this off. So I called him, didn't know about the septic thing, cause I didn't know if he was gonna sell it, and then they'd have to have issues with putting a septic in. And actually, he said it does have a separate one. They have 2 camper spots on the south part there, and it already has a separate one.
Is it up to date one?
Right. Let's see here. Because originally the lot was large enough, I guess, if you go off the 0.9 acres is what it's required, 40,000 square feet. So it was big enough to have 2 to begin with, but, yeah, sorry guys.
So is that his intention to sell that other one?
Well, he said probably just the family. So here, and it's got, yeah, a camper spot here, and it looks like one right here, and he's splitting it right.
So it's less than an acre then?
It is less than an acre, but he states it's already there, the septic is there.
Yeah, but, I mean, is it up to par?
What's that?
Is it up to par?
Yeah, no, I'm not
Well,
the code.
I think the question that we have that we've kind of gone over, especially in the recent future here, is the splitting of parcels and especially the splitting of them under an acre. So I guess my suggestion for now would probably be to table this plot and probably either seek the opinion of our state's attorney or go to our ordinance book and see if it even allows for something. I mean, cause even 0.6 acres that's small.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know there are some limitations in the ordinance book for lot sizes, and I know just, like I said, as my field of work, under an acre is extremely difficult to fit a sewer system in, so, I mean, if it already has one, you gotta start wondering if that goes across this new property line, or any of those issues.
Or it's just a culvert in the ground, or what is it?
Well, what the legality of it, I guess, probably isn't, you know, I mean, you could argue that, or you'd have to basically get an inspection. I don't think the county wants to start requesting inspections on sewers, but my point is, I just have serious doubts that this lot, you know, and it's not about splitting it now, it's about 20 years from now, when it changes hands 3 different times, and now this person wants to develop this 0.6 acres, and we allowed this lot to be split this size. It just kind of creates an issue that we've dealt with over and over recently. So, I guess my suggestion would be to table it, just to at least verify it, you know, and if there are other things to consider, I think that would be the wise move, so. That being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny, so. Whoever wants to
I'll
make a
make a
motion.
motion to table it until we get more information on it.
Okay. Should we table it just for the next meeting? I guess I'd like a little
Yeah.
specific on, yeah, okay, let's table it for the next meeting. So the motion by Commissioner Holm to table this till the next meeting so we can do more research on this plot. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Everly. Is there any more discussion on the tabling of the plat for Larry Wanda? I think it's,
The only thing is, whoever's gonna go check it out, should probably check the sewer system out too.
well, I don't think anybody here is qualified to do that, so you'd have to.
Well, I mean, you could ask
You'd have
them.
to call Custer Health if you were gonna do that.
They could ask them what they got in there,
Right.
what's in there.
But that would be the curious question, but,
I looked at the city code last night. You can do a variance if a soil survey was done, with certain types of soils are less permeable, if there was a leak in the septic system. Then I don't know who's qualified to do
So you'd have to get a hold of probably Lana Schmidt at Custer Health, who's the inspector for the county, so. I mean, I know there's instances where you probably can fit a sewer on something this small, but it creates a lot of avenues, and I just know as a county, we had kind of discussed before that splitting under an acre is just not really a good practice, so I guess that's something to consider, so. Okay, well, we'll call the question on that, so all those in favor of tabling the plat till the next meeting signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Aye.
Opposed? plat is tabled until next month. And we also have time for one more, so it's a plat for Denise and Donald Orthmeyer.
No issues with this one.
I believe the description for this is that they sold the farmyard, used to be the Werner farmyard there just east of Hazelton. They sold off 10 acres, that's what I was told previously, so.
There's a building permit for them to put grain bins on this one. And since they don't have a deed yet, because this hasn't been approved,
Sure.
Adams had Don Northmeyer sign it as well, so.
Okay. Well, once this, if this plat is to be approved, then that building permit would be okay, then, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't believe there's any issues, since everything was already established, it's just a transfer, and it's 10 acres, so. Entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny the plat for Don and Denise Orthmeyer.
Make a motion to approve that one.
Commissioner Culver makes a motion to approve the plat. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Seconded by Commissioner Everly. Is there any more discussion on the plat for Donald and Denise Orthmeyer? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Plat is approved. We should have time to do the appointment for the North Dakota Insurance Reserve, not? Okay. So next is the appointment of an agent of record for the North Dakota Insurance Reserve and State Fire and Tornado for 2023, 2024. We usually do that on some kind of a rotation basis.
Every other year,
Every other year?
we rotate, it's on a 2-year basis, so, NODAC Mutual Insurance has it now. And so we need to appoint, the next person on list is, because we go on a rotation, the next one on list is Strasburg Insurance Agency.
Is who?
Strasburg Insurance Agency.
We've always rotated between all the county insurance agencies to give everybody a,
Yeah.
so anybody that's
So
insurance.
basically, you're just coming and going down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we added one on, because we have a new insurance agency, that Emmons County Insurance Agency.
Right.
So we just added it. Like, it gives everybody a chance when you go in order, to
Yeah,
everybody.
Yeah, that way you don't miss
But
anybody.
it's just that you guys have to appoint a person for the next 2 years.
So when does that term up?
First of the year, so what they usually do is, there's a lot, they have to do all new renewal applications for the general liability, the, business auto, the inland marine, and then also they do the state fire and tornado with all the buildings, the museum buildings, the courthouse, the county shops. There's a lot, so it's a lot of work for an agent to do, they have to do new applications for everything and resubmit.
So price-wise, are they usually pretty competitive all the time?
Yeah, it's the same company, it's just that we have another agent that serves.
The insurance reserve sets the rates for,
Yeah.
we just have an insurance agent basically just handle it for us, so. So, entertain a motion to decide on an agent.
I'll make a motion to go ahead with Strasburg Insurance Agency.
Okay. Commissioner Hall makes a motion to go with Strasburg Insurance Agency. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Whitehall. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved for Strasburg Insurance Agent to be the agent of record for the North Dakota Insurance Reserve. Well, since we only have a couple minutes here, why don't we just take a short break before the 10 o'clock, whatever we want to do, and then come back at 10.